Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. I hope the week is going okay. So, today, Nelly and I, we are diving deep into another amazing topic today. And today we are talking, in fact, what we're going to be saying today, we're going to be talking something which is raw, it is real, and sometimes it's not often spoken because sometimes people are always dodging away from it. And that is all about the realities of single parenting. So today we are going to be talking about the realities of single parenting. And if you are a single parent, you already know that, this journey is not a one-dimensional thing. It is full with happiness, sadness, challenging, crying, laughing, everything put together. So, but today we are going to be looking deep into what are some of the realities based on our own experiences. So, for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Peggy Barre. I am the founder of Arise and Thrive Academy and a domestic abuse practitioner. And I'm just going to pass you to Nelly to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session. I am Nelly Kwasinwi, a social worker, transformational life coach, and co-founder of Hand in Hand Community CIC. It's always a pleasure to be on this session. And like Peggy said, we are just speaking from the heart because our purpose is to help you as well as help ourselves in this journey of parenting, and more specifically single parenting, where it's a learning institution every single day.
I like that word, a learning institution, Nelly, because it's a journey that we dive into it sometimes without even knowing what is it all about. Some of it we might have seen, or maybe our parents must have told us some. Some we might have seen other people doing it, but then the rest is just like, yes, say this person is going to tell you this. We've got social media today. When you go on social media, you see all kind of do and don'ts, 5 tips of this and all of that. But Nelly, when it comes to the reality, whoosh, you're like, is this parenting? Is this single parenting? So so it's all about, seeing the realities, kind of knowing that there is a difference between what we read, what we hear, and what it is actually the reality. So we thought that maybe the best way of us diving in, Nelly, I don't know whether if you got any statistics, we might want to start with the statistics before we dive into some myth about single parenting.
Yeah. So some of the myths, not myths, some of the statistics that I came up with is 98% or 89% of single parents are women and 11% are men. Single parents numbers have risen in the last decade, with 3.2 million lone parents family overall, that is in the UK. 2 million single parents with dependent children, that is approximately 1 in 4 families with children is in a single parenting household. So just looking at that number, it's quite high. And then you might start questioning, why is that the case? But that is for another session, not for today.
Yeah, definitely. We are going to talk about that in another session. And like we say, I think I've said that before, we've said that before, that single parenting is as a result of different reasons, but we're not going to focus on that today. Today, we are talking about the challenges of single parenting because as a single parent, when you think that, what, I've got it all, I've got the energy, I've got the this, I've got the that, I've got the that, and then your child, and I'm talking about just one child, and then talk less of the parents that have got 3, 4, 5 on their own, right? And sometimes we underestimate ourselves, and then sometimes we overestimate ourselves in such a way that we're drowning without the courage to even put our hands up and say, hi, yeah, somebody save me. So this is why we're going to be talking about today. Now, let us talk about some myth, because I was kind of conscious. We were kind of looking about some myths about single parenting, and me and Nelly and I were just going to be sharing some. So on my end, or at my end, myth number one is children need two parents to thrive. Remember, again, we don't know. Some of them we're gonna, it's not a topic for today. It's a topic that we can actually talk about it. Maybe like this particular one is a topic to talk about on its own. Children need two parents to thrive. That's myth number one.
Peggy, I think we can debunk the myths and not just
Yes.
let go.
Yes. So the reality for that myth is children in single parent household, including those by choice, do not just as well emotionally. They do not just as well emotionally or socially. No, sorry. Children in a single parent household, they can do well, same as children in with two parents. In fact, statistics show that some children in single household are even more emotionally stable than children in two parent household with trouble, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think there, when you look at it, so prior to relationship breakdown, there's trouble between the parents or the couple.
Yeah.
And what is often not seen is the impact on the child. Because though the
Yeah.
child is silent, but there's a lot going on in their head, and obviously it's negative, which is
Yeah.
impacting their emotional well-being. Some parents, because of cultural aspects and societal norms, whatever it is, they would prefer to stay in the relationship that is toxic, regardless. So then, when you want to compare, is it better to stay in an abusive relationship or in a toxic relationship, or is it better to leave that relationship and become single? It goes back to what you say, whether it's out of choice or out of what is the other word that you said? It might not be their choice, or
Yeah.
circumstances might dictate what
Circumstances. Yeah.
happens. But
Yeah.
that is not for today, but it's just to point out those aspects. So, what I'm bringing this is to compare the aspect of couple with a child and a single parent. Which one is better? For me, taking my lens of social worker, it is the impact on the child, regardless whether you are in a single household or you're in a double couple household. What is the impact on the child? How is the child presenting? Is the Yeah, so that is all that matters. And you've talked about the statistics, and research has shown that there is no disparity in whether the child is in a coupled household or a single household. Some children are more emotionally stable in singles household, and others are more emotionally stable in a coupled household. So it depends on the emotional stability of the parent, whether you are double or you are single. So it goes back to the parent, because if a parent is emotionally stable, it is highly likely that they will be emotionally present for their children, thus providing them with or helping them to develop emotional stability.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. And I always say to it compared to it's just like this one analogy that somebody said one day, that which one will you prefer? Would you prefer a home that you've got two parents in there, but you can't speak, you can't hug your children, you can't have an opinion that is not always criticized, you can't actually feel comfortable, and you don't even feel safe? Do you prefer that environment, or do you prefer an environment where it's just you and the children, but you feel comfortable, you feel empowered, you feel safe, you can actually hug your children, you can actually discipline your child without feeling as if you are less capable? So again, it's about, just like Nelly said, it's about what is the impact on the children? And even what is the impact on you yourself as a parent? Right? Because you have to be whole. You have to be whole before you can raise up wholesome children who are whole. If you're broken, bruised, and you will likely raise up children who are broken and bruised as well. So again, it's about how does it impact the children and how does it impact you. Now, another myth is single moms are no. The second myth is single mothers cannot provide a stable home or life for their children. That's another myth. And I've heard that so many times. But the reality is that stability comes from love, from routine, and it does not come from the number of parents, right? So what I always say is that even if you have just bedroom with your bed, at the side, with your cooker at the side, right? But if that room is filled with love, it's filled with affection, it's filled with joy, it's filled with praises for you and your child alone, trust me, that particular environment, no matter how small it is going to raise up emotionally bounded, emotionally resilient, and loving and emotionally healthy children than a massive house, a mansion with everybody in, but there is chaos. That's my opinion, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience. Now, Nelly, I don't know whether you want to add something on that and then add your own myth.
Yeah, I think what you've just said there is really right. Because from my personal experience, after so many years where I was feeling really tense, I was struggling. I was in a very low place where I struggled to discipline my children. And whether anything that I said was being criticized. So it really impacted me because I didn't know whether speaking I'll get in trouble or staying quiet I'll get in trouble. No matter what, I always got in trouble. So that really, really impacted me. So after so many years, we stayed at the refuge, and it was just so peaceful. It was just so peaceful. I had nothing with my children, but just the fact that there was peace.
Yeah.
All of us, of myself and my children, we could say how we felt. We knew that we could be honest to ourselves and no one will judge us. So we were just vulnerable with each other. And like the adult or the parent, I was being mindful because I made it open for my children to be friends with me. But I was friendly with them, but not being friends with them, because that's where the boundary comes in as a mom or as an adult. And because I had started working on myself prior to being in the refuge, I knew how to put boundaries. So it goes back to the very beginning where you said, yes, we can read things off stories, textbooks, and all whatnot. But it's very different when you experience it. Because, like Peggy and myself, we have experienced this journey. We can speak from our experiences, and no matter the time that you wake us up from sleep, we know exactly what had happened, how we dealt with it, because it is our experience, it's our lived experience, unlike reading from books or reading other people's experience, which is something that makes a massive, massive difference. And sometimes when we go into our professional lives, lived experiences really count, especially in the caring profession where I worked as a frontline worker. It really, really is really, really important. So one of the myths that I have here, and I'll read it and I'll debunk the myth, is that single parents are more likely to have unplanned pregnancies. I just want to think that in this case, probably this came about because let me speak about single mothers because they are the ones about pregnancy, single mothers. It would be the single mothers who are emotionally vulnerable, they are desperate. And if anyone smiles with them, they think it's an invitation to get into a relationship. However, those who have worked on themselves, they know how to put boundaries, healthy boundaries, of course, not just boundaries, to put healthy boundaries. And to those who consider themselves as the temple of the Lord, because they know that their body, they need to respect their body and not just misuse themselves. So, like Peggy and myself, we are on the healing journey, and we know that we are not opening up to people who will hurt us anymore. So we have healthy boundaries in place. It's not static. We are working on them. It is flexible. It's a continuous learning. So I think that's where this myth came from. Though
Okay.
you still look at it to
Yeah.
see that there are some single parents who come from a place of hurt. They will say they are
Mm.
healed, but the way they speak, it is still from a place of hurt, which means they haven't healed yet, but they will say they've healed. But just from the way they speak, you can understand that the anger, the rage is still there. It is a continuous process. It's not something that you say, I'll take 3 months to heal. No, it will take such a long time to heal. You will feel it when you've healed. It's not just saying it, it's how you feel it, because it's down to energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you said something in the beginning or at the beginning that single parenting is a school. It's an educational institution, and the good thing is that, or the funniest thing is that you continuously learn. Even when you become a grandmother and even great grandmother, you continue to learn. So it never stops. So that is a learning journey where and sometimes parents who have gone through that healing journey, it is our responsibilities to make sure that we debunk some of these beliefs or some of these stereotypes, about single parent, especially about single mothers. In fact, there's some there's some ridiculous stereotypes, that you walk in the community and you hear people say and about you, and it's like, you know what? In fact, sometimes I just laugh at them. Now, another myth is single moms are easy or looking to steal husbands. Right. Sorry for laughing that loud, right? Because I think that is a myth. And to be honest with you, sometimes it's so pathetic that this myth is even so predominant around or among the Afro-Caribbean communities, where they see you and they feel like, you know what, this is just looking for an opportunity to steal. But the reality is that when you are a mother or when you are a parent, or especially a parent that is conscious of your responsibility as a parent, your priority, I'm talking for myself as my experience, my priority are my children. In fact, there is nothing that I do that do not put my children first. So, whatever thing, wherever I go, right? It's not about relationship. It's about asking yourself that, am I prepared? Am I right? Have I healed enough? And am I ready to get into a relationship that is going to be healthy for my children? So everything is around your children. Well, just like Nelly said, for those that have not healed and they're looking for somebody they're looking for where they can dump their emotions, sorry to put it that way, maybe those type of people are they can be like, okay, I just want to into a relationship. It doesn't matter who is it. It might be somebody's husband. But for somebody, a parent that is healed or is on that healing journey and is conscious of their responsibility as a parent, they are more focused on their children, right? They're more focused on their children. So I don't know whether Nelly wanted to add something
Yeah,
on
I
that.
think Peggy, you said something there about priorities.
Mhm.
You and me, our priorities are our children, because we know that we are on the healing journey and we don't want our experiences to impact our children. But as a social worker, I have seen countless cases whereby parents prioritize their relationship over their children. And that one is a different story for another day, because some parents, they will say, I care about my children, but what they are doing is they will prioritize relationship. And that goes down to the beliefs, the mindset, because some people prefer to stay in chaotic relationships and not caring about their children than to leave that relationship and prioritize their children. So priority here, people have different priorities.
True.
Yeah.
Have you got any Nelly, can you adjust your camera? You're a little bit blurry there. If that's just me, I see it on my end.
Eh,
No, that's fine. Don't panic. While Nelly is sorting out her camera, I'm going to go to another myth.
is this
Right,
better?
another myth. Um, Not really. It's still blurry, but
I
that's fine.
think it's my, wait, let me see. I'll need to wipe my,
Okay. So another myth there is single parents are superhumans. That's another common myth where we feel like we are super mommies, we are super daddies. And people, even family members, will often tend to see you, you know what, that you are a superhuman. And instead of actually giving you the support that you need and more, to raise up your children, they are instead putting load on you because they see you as that superhuman being. So again, we can experience burnout as single parents. We can experience burnout, and that's why it's very important that we find the balance to rest in such a way so that we can have the energy, the mindset, what it takes to make sure that we raise our children in the best way that we can. So Nelly, over to you. I don't know if you have any more myth, or there are quite a
I'm
lot
just
of
looking.
myths. We're not going to be able to touch all of them anyway. But
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with the camera. I can see it's still blurry, but anyway. Um, so single parents are solely responsible for birth control and family planning. I think it ties in with one of the previous ones that I talked about the priorities. It depends on the
yes,
priorities of the parent or of the mother, because the mothers are the ones who get pregnant. And family planning. If if I know that I am a single parent, family planning, I need to, again, what are my priorities? Because when you look at it, some women, they feel that having a child with a man will tie in the relationship, which is that actually the case? Of course, there's so many we've seen that it's not the case, because children play their own part, but the children to keep the relationship is another thing.
yeah, that's so true. Right, another myth I've got at my end, which is like I said, there are lots of them, but we're just gonna
There are lots. I think if we want
there
to
are
keep
lots.
keep talking about the myths, then we might not
Yeah,
meet up with what we
yeah, we
have.
might not meet up. So I think another one to run out, which is great, is children of single parent who perform poorly in school. That is another one, common one that you hear many people, talk about that, single parents. And to debunk that myth, success is based on support and care and not on the number of children. Right. A loving, stable home or a stable environment is key factor, right? Not a factor, not the absence of a single parent. That means if you have a stable home, a nurturing home, a supportive home for your child can as well perform well as a child in a two-parent household. So
I,
yeah.
yeah, I think just to add there, all these myths are based in the communities, in the
Mhm,
systems, and all whatnot. I will share my example.
mhm,
This is my personal experience. So when my marriage break down, I became a single parent with my 4 children. One of my children was in high school at the time, and she went to school, and when the teacher, because one was in primary school, the other was in high school, and the others were in college and university. So the primary school contacted the high school because they always they always share information just to make sure that the children are okay. So after some time, the child who was in high school started coming up with complaints, and every day at least 3 days a week, I'll get phone call from school to say that she is not putting on the correct school uniform and things like that. Anyway, there was a time she came back and she asked me, Mom, are we on benefit? What is benefit even? I said, where did that come from? And she said, it's one teacher who said it, that probably now your mother is a single mother. She's probably on benefit. She cannot manage you and things like that. That was a staff, a professional telling my child. So I got it, and it was too much. You can only take too much. And I requested for a meeting at school. So when I went to the meeting, they said, because there were so many other things that came up. Some were phone calls telling me that if I didn't have the money to buy the proper school uniform for my child, I should buy and send them the receipt. And imagine, yeah, I got furious because that day, that phone call came when I was at work. So anyway, I requested for this meeting in school. And when I went to the meeting, they said they're just thinking that now that this is what they told me in my face, that they're just thinking that now that I'm a single parent, I will be struggling to manage my children and to meet my children's needs. I sat there, I was like, you can imagine, I was fuming. But again, I was just reminding myself to stay quiet. And I was like, I thank you for the concerns. However, I know my children and I am supporting my children. We have conversations every single day. So wherever you're coming from, that my children may be struggling because I am a single mom, I don't know where that came from. If you want to follow the traditional family system, at the time, I knew my children were struggling, which is why I made the decision that I want my children to live a better life. So even in schools, the system, there are some biases when it comes to single parenting. And when we talk of systems, who are behind the system? The human beings like you and me. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that little example.
And that is so true. And that comes down to, this is when you talk about, when I talk to parents every day in the community, and some of the complain that the children's schools are sending letters, they're saying this, they are disrespecting them and all of that. I always say it all comes that you took that decision to actually call that meeting. Not many parents will do that because, again, maybe of their own, they haven't even built their self-esteem, they have not built their self-confidence, they don't even know what they want to say. And this is why we, as that healing process, you've got to heal for yourself and also to stand up for yourself and your children. Because sometimes the system actually stigmatizes us, it puts everybody in one box, but not everybody is the same. So one thing that we want to talk about, again, which is very important, is in our parenting journey, sometimes you may only hear about the negative, right? Especially in a community where, one, in their mind, they feel like being a single parent is you becoming a failure. They actually put you in that box like, you're a failure. You went into that relationship. Maybe if your single parenting was as a result of a broken relationship, they're going to say, oh, because you're very incapable, you were not worthy to be a wife and all of that, that's why you ended up being a single parent. And so they will find something to tack you with it. Now, For those who become single parent by choice or maybe by accident, some people just get pregnant, maybe, and then they decide to raise their children. Now, the society is going to find a way around that to also insult you or minimize you or stigmatize you to make you feel less of a parent. And so, whether your parenting or your single parenting came as a result of which situation, it doesn't matter. What matters is where you are right now as it is, as a single parent. What is it that you have learned from that journey? And even if you're still to learn certain things, where are you going? What is the way forward for you? Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you heal, you raise your children to become, well, responsible citizens. I know not everyone is going to be, at least you want to make sure that at least you're satisfied that, you know what, as a parent, I did my best. So we're going to be looking around about the strength that we don't even realize as a single parent, So I don't know, Nelly, we can talk on that, isn't it? Because I'm just conscious of time. The strength that you and I don't realize as single parents. We might be on that hamster wheel every day. We get him in the morning. We're doing the same thing, taking the kids to school, go to work, come back, cook, clean, or just that hamster wheel. It never stops every day. And for people who are business owners, you are there trying to run your business. So you are always going and going and going. Sometimes it is easy to just focus on that negative and focus on that hamster wheel, but you forget about the strength that you're actually building. Yes, it's very true. We're going to talk about how to find, it's important to rest and find way to take care of yourself. But do not forget that in the process of that hardship, in the process of that challenge, you're building skills that you do not even realize. I'll talk, for example, let me share a little bit for, when I obviously, when my relationship broke down and we moved out with the kids, I knew I've always been a hustler. I knew I've always been an independent woman, but I did not realize how I could use my initiative to, that I can create sources of income. I can do this. I can, even my entrepreneurial skill, I did not even actually understand how far I could use that skill within me. But as a parent, when I had my children, I started thinking that, you know what? Yes, I want to work. And I also want to make sure that I build a life that is comfortable for me and the children. Just like you, Nelly, you said, that school was sending you that letter, you were at work. You were at work because you wanted to at least provide a comfortable life for your children. Now, that skill for me to be able to think as a parent, it gave me a good decision-making skill, which I had to develop it, because as a single parent, there are certain decisions that you have to make it there and there alone without actually finding somebody to ask them. So for me, one of the things that I would say I've learned is that good decision-making skill, which is I would say is a plus for me, unlike it's not just that, many other things, but I just want that decision where you can make a decision knowing that I'm making this decision based on, very swift, and I know that this decision that I've made at least is the right one. Unlike before, where for me to make a decision, I will always have to run past it someone. I couldn't make a decision on my own because I felt like I wasn't worth it, or I couldn't. If you understand, Nelly, I know you understand from that perspective where I'm coming from, you understand. But as a single parent, there are some skills that I've learned, that decision-making skill, multitasking skill, which I've learned, which is a great plus for me as a parent.
I think, just what you've said is really, really important there. Yes, I understand because I've gone through similar experience. The way our society has made there's a lot of dependency. And
Yeah.
when you are when you are in a relationship or a marriage and you are dependent on the other person, and something like that happens, or when you are dependent on another person, you forget about certain skills that you have, because
Mm-hmm.
you've talked about yourself, about the decision making. It's not like you never had those skills. You have
Mm-hmm.
always had those skills, but because of the dependency, you forgot using those skills. Now you found yourself, like me, when I found myself in a situation where I was the only one to make that decision, then I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I upskilled and I was making
Yeah.
the decision swift because I knew I didn't have to pass by someone.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you are in that difficult situation, you think that you do not have the skills. But then when you start like questioning yourself and taking that responsibility, looking at your children, that yes, these children are looking up to me for everything, then
Mm-hmm.
you can make a decision. Even if the decision doesn't turn out wrong, that's not an issue, because you have learned that that particular decision, if a similar situation happens next time, you will
Mm-hmm.
take a different decision, not that the one that failed. But it doesn't mean that you are a failure. So it's just for us to keep examining ourselves. And like self-awareness is very important, because sometimes, especially when we are growing up, we develop certain beliefs. Like
Mm-hmm.
this issue of dependency is a belief that a lot of women have developed based on the patriarchal society that we live in. For me, I'm not saying that men and women are equal, and I don't believe that they will ever be equal. However, there is that individuality. Every individual is unique and special in their own way. So
Mm-hmm.
if a parent accepts themselves for who they are and not depending on another person who wants to change them to the version that they want, that they can easily control, then
Mm-hmm.
for me, that's where I think I've got an issue. Because
Yeah.
if, say, someone got to me because someone got into a relationship with me because they saw me for who I was, and then down the line, that person wants to change me to be their toy, to be controlling, then it means that they don't appreciate the person that I am, because they want to
Mm.
change me to something else. And I strongly feel that majority of relationship breakdown is due to that, because people want to change others to be the toys that they control, and that is down to their insecurity. So all of us, each and everyone has strength. It's for
Yeah.
us to look at those strengths. And sometimes we discover strengths when we are almost at the darkest side of our lives, when we are experiencing things that we did not think that could ever be a reality. At those points, you have hit a brick wall, and there's nothing else but yourself to make that decision. So you start discovering that, oh, you can resist certain things. You have this strength that you never knew you had.
Yeah. That is so true, Nelly. And like I always say, it's about, they always say, don't just look on the pain, look on the gain, look on the benefit, look on the purpose of that pain. I would say when I look back today, I was like, if I if what happened didn't happen, I don't feel I would have learned and I would have pushed myself to where and who I am today. So sometimes when things happened, it's not about just looking at the pain, it's about looking at what is it that this thing is teaching me or that this thing wants me to learn, and try and grab that opportunity and learn it. When I look back, like I always say, Nelly, there are certain things that happened that if I knew what I know today, maybe things wouldn't have even happened or gone down the way they did. So It's about looking at the plus and say, you know what, yes, this thing has happened, but in it there is a treasure which I have learned, and then I'm taking that treasure forward. Another thing that we learned as parents, that or as single parents, that we don't even realize is things like resilience and adaptability. As a parent, think about the days that you come home, Nelly, and things, the way you plan that things are going to be this particular way, and you come out is the opposite. There and there on the spot, you need to plan. There on the spot, you need to make a decision. You need to adapt. There are days that you come back home, you're drained. In fact, bills are meeting you you're opening your door and you're meeting bills. Kids are driving you crazy. The institution, everything is just, but that is a moment where you have to build that resilience, and by you overcoming that, it actually helps you to build that resilience and that adaptability, which is a skill that most people don't have. So those are some of the skills that you build as a single parent. What about high emotional intelligence? Again, I don't know. Yeah, let me just say whether you can add something on that, and then even talk about emotional intelligence, because I know that's something that you'll be, yeah.
Yeah, I think as single parents, there are
Mhm.
lots of things that we can learn from.
Yeah.
And for me, I think is being silent. Because what people easily do is when they have an issue, they run to
Mm,
social media. And I've often
yes.
said that when you go on social media to get advice, I'm very sorry to say it, bird, you
Yeah.
will not get any advice, because as an individual, you know the solution to your problems. But when
Mhm.
people go on social media, it's because they want validation and
Yes.
they fear rejection. So they go onto social media, or they go to A, B, C, D, and not actually addressing the issue that they have at hand.
Mhm.
For me, when I was going through my difficulties, that was when reflecting, I appreciate that I am an introvert. I am an empath.
Yeah.
When I was struggling, I entered my shell. People did not know what I was going through. And I
Yeah.
think that that was my plus. It did mean
Yes.
that I was not looking for help. I was asking for help, not from my community, because my community, they were the ones who, I felt that some people in my community were like, haha, she thought that. So I was seeking for help from professionals and not from my
Mm.
community, because initially I attempted to get help from my community, but I felt rejected because you are the woman. You need to stay in the marriage. And I was like, okay, I don't want my family, that is my parents, to come and pick a body that is not alive. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to save myself. I need to save my children. So we need to be mindful. If we are struggling, how do we want solutions? Because speak, and one thing is, people have issues and they'll speak to everyone else, but for the person you have the issue with, how
Yeah.
then do you get solutions? So, like for me, when I knew that I was in a difficult situation, I went in. I became so introspective. I was just examining myself.
Mhm.
And because people could not get my information from me, they did not actually know what was going on. And
Mm.
whatever they were saying, I did not care because it had nothing to do with me. It was their perception. But
Yeah.
then, years down the line, they have realized that, oh, she has not turned out the way they were expecting her to turn out. And it was
Yeah.
like, how does she dare say do what she is doing now, which is what I'm doing now, which
Yeah.
so the time that I went in, I was just working on myself, and I work a lot on self-awareness. And anyone
Mhm.
watching, no matter your situation, if you are struggling, examine yourself. Why are you doing what you are doing, how you are doing, when you are doing, and things like that? Just keep questioning yourself, because if you identify something as a problem, you have the solution and not people out there. The solution is within you. So
Mhm.
those are all skills that as individuals, each and everyone can develop if they want to, because it's a matter of choice.
Yeah.
But people will use your story as their conversation starters and things like that. And they're not really out there to help you. They have their own many issues anyway.
That's so true, definitely. And this is one that I always say that there's a chapter that I wrote in my book about friendship. I was so naive around about friendship, where I felt that people whom I consider were my friends were really there for me. Or maybe I did not actually know the definition of friendship. And I was so surprised that when my relationship broke down and I had to move to a different city, when you're expecting that those people whom you thought were your friends will be the ones to ask you that, but hey, Peggy, where did you go? Where are you with the kids? Let's come and check on what you're doing or where you are, how you are doing. None of them. In fact, the people that I least expected them to come, those are the people that came. So again, that just started helping me to change. And like you said, Nelly, that was a moment where I felt like, you know what, it started changing my mentality, my mindset around community and even about friendship and all of these things. So you mentioned something there, that there comes a point in your life where, especially as a single parent, it's not about when you go quiet. It's not like your things. It's not like people go quiet when they are building themselves. People may go quiet when they're building themselves, and they may go quiet sometimes because they are seeking help from the right places. So that's another thing, that as a single parent, sometimes we feel the need, or people may feel the need to be out there. I need to be on social media. I need to show them that I'm this. I need to do this. We're putting unnecessary pressure on ourselves. Unlike if you are in the position where you are still healing, right? There is a journey, there is a time for everything. If you're in a process where you are still healing, go put your head down and heal. Because that is the moment where, like Nelly said, you're looking inside out, you're looking into yourself. That is the moment for me where I had to actually sit down and I wrote down, like, what are my weaknesses? I identify my weaknesses. What are my weaknesses? What is it that I need to improve? What are my strengths? So these are some of the things that are very important, especially in that journey, that beginning stage. And then as you grow, then yes, there'll come a time where Nelly and I today, we're doing this thing that we're doing. There was one time that we were quiet. But again, that is all healing process. So we
I
talked
think
about, yeah.
just to add there, it's very important that um, I just want to make a difference between
Mhm.
surrendering and being lonely and being
Yes.
isolated. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when people go quiet, because others don't get the information that they were expecting to get, they start
Mm,
bringing different things. But you, as an individual, you are the only one who knows what's going on with you. Are you surrendering? Are you being isolated? Are you being lonely? It's for you to identify where you belong when you are on your own.
yeah. And of course, seek help. Seek the proper
Yes,
help from the right channel, not on social
exactly.
media.
Yeah.
Not on social media. Seek help, because it is okay to seek help. Right. We talk about sacrifices no one sees. I think that's another important one. And the sacrifice that no one sees. What I don't know about you, Nelly. One of the sacrifices, in fact, or the challenges that no one sees, is the fact financial constraint. That is something that will run across all like things. Because think about it, in a household where both parents, were working, they're bringing two income into the household, it made things a lot easier than you're the only one working and still, shouldering the responsibilities that two people, especially if the other partner has refused that I'm not going to help, because that's what happened. Some of those say, you know what, I'm not going to give you any penny, I'm not going to give you any support, and all of that. So financial difficulties. And again, it comes to the backdrop of the myth, because another myth is that single moms or single parents get a lot of money from the benefit or the social system, right? They get a lot of money. The reason I'm not going to support you, I'm not going to give you any dime because you are claiming benefit, you're getting social support for the children. So that's why I'm not going to support you and all of that. But they forget to know that whatever the social system is giving you, which is mostly not enough, right? You have to squeeze to make sure that you provide the need of those children in the same way as both of you were doing. And you've got your own house bills to pay. You're still paying your house rent, you're paying electricity, you're buying food, you're buying clothes, and all of this for your children. So this is the thing. And like we always say, for me, it pushed me. It actually pushed me, rather than dwell on the fact that, you know what, yes, this is a situation, let me know. But it actually pushed me to say, you know what, rather than me stressing about this thing, I will find a way to make sure that at least I supplement in such a way that I can be comfortable, like, in a way. At least I need make sure that I can put food on my table, and do so without competition, without competing with anybody. If I have to cook maybe just spaghetti and whatever, so long as I cook it with love and I cook it in such a way that my children come home, eat it, enjoy it, they're in a loving environment, that is what matters. So, in a nutshell, I'm just saying that as a parent, yes, we know that financial constraint is a massive one. And even the system does not even understand it, Nelly. Every day, if I tell you the amount of women or the amount of parents that are stressed because the social system keep pushing them to work, yes, some of them, they're pushing them to work, they cannot work because they've got children, parenting, they've got childcare issues and all of that, and they're being penalized for this. So it is very, very difficult, and it's very, very wrong to actually feel that, you know what, and I'm just saying here, right here, maybe you are the one of the parent, maybe you're the dad or the mom that say you're not going to support the other person. Look, it's not about that partner, it's about your children. It's about your children. If you think that you're doing what you're doing to punish your partner, know that you're punishing your children. You're not punishing your partner. And sometimes it's about standing tall and say, you know what, I'm going to separate the fight that I'm fighting with my partner to make sure that I provide for my children. And kudos to those parents, to those dads and those moms that have kept away their differences and their focuses on their children. Well done. So yeah, I don't know whether Nelly wanted to
I
add something
think
on
that
that.
that is the mentality that we would assume that like parents who have children would take, but unfortunately, I would say majority, I've heard this majority from the African families, that when the relationship break down and the children are, say, with the mom or with the dad, the other parent will say that I will not pay a dime because the system is taking care of my children, is giving money. And sometimes the parent who is not having the children or the child full time is saying that they don't want to give money to the parent having the child because they will use the money to buy their stuff and things like that. Sometimes, like, I have seen that so many times in my role
Yeah.
as a social worker, and I've said, okay, like if the child is young, there's something called Go Henry, where it is a children's account, bank account, where
Yeah.
the parent will have access or will have the child's details and be putting money there. I say, okay, if your fears is that the parent will be using the money for the child on themselves, be sending that money to the child's account. You can create an account for the child and be putting the money in the account. But I just feel that it's not that they don't have I feel that it is that they want to penalize the other parent,
Yeah.
and because they don't want to take that responsibility. Because how would you have a child and then you say you will not take care of the child because the government is taking care of the child? How much is it? And this goes down to the sacrifices that single parents make. Because, for instance, how much is being paid? Okay, let me just take example. Say if it's something like child benefit, you get about 26, 25 pounds for a child per week. If the child how much do you pay for lunch in school? It's around 30 pounds a week.
Yeah.
So then that is gone. The child might have extracurricular activities. If the child is doing some sport, you pay subscription monthly. You get outfit for the child for the sport or for the activities that they are doing. They So if you just want to look at this is just per week, then before
Yeah.
you put per month. And so I think the parents who are not wanting to take responsibility, they need to think of their child because they feel that they are punishing the other partner. But for me, I feel that they are teaching the other partner how to be more responsible because they want to make sure their child or their children are well taken care of, and make their children not to develop that attitude of competing with other people, just being contented with what they have.
Yeah. Definitely. And this is the thing that, like you said, Nelly, is very important as well for the parents to make sure that they create the culture of gratitude, that culture of contention, of contentment, because we want to teach our children that, hey, life is not about the all birth of roses. There are days that things are going to be tough. There are days that when you come back home, even there's nothing that you want to eat, find something alternative to eat. These are some of all the life struggles and all life skills that in that we are teaching our children, so that they know that, hey, we're not just going to give them anything that they want. Life is tough, and that that in itself is also a lesson for them to learn. I don't know whether Nelly wants something before we talk about the last point, which is about love that never.
I think let's go to the last point because we have just 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, so you want to talk on that?
So the bond between a single parent and their child, it depends. If the parent is healing, their main focus is the child, and their bond is usually stronger because yes, they are there to protect the child, but they are not overprotecting the child because they want to give that child the freedom to explore and grow into their independent individual. Unlike
Mm,
a parent who has not healed or who has not started healing, they want to overprotect that child. And in that way, they are depriving that child of their independence because they want to tell the child what to do, how to do, when to do, and then the child just depends on them. But I feel the love that a parent will honestly give the child is to promote the child's independence. Promoting a child's independence is out of love. It doesn't mean that the child will not make mistakes. The child learns
mm,
like every person learns from their mistake. And if a child knows that it's okay that when they make a mistake to accept that mistake and then learn from it, that is a good mindset that parents will be teaching their children, and that will come from a place of love. Unlike when the parent has not started healing and they penalize the child for making a mistake, they are helping that child to develop fear-based beliefs where the child will not want to make any mistakes, which means they will not want to take any risks, because they know that if they take risks, they will get into trouble, and probably they'll hear that, that inner voice, because that talk is coming from the parent. They'll be hearing that, and it will really reduce their abilities to be independent, and it will affect them in their adult life. And I strongly believe a lot of people in our society relates to what I'm talking about, because that overprotection from their parents because of one reason or the other, and they are unable to develop the skills, the social skills, and that's why the world is where it is today. I just think so.
Yeah, so that is so great, and I love that perspective. And another perspective about love again is that as a parent, just know that your love for your child never runs out. I know there are days that they're going to drive you crazy. There are days that you're going to feel like, you know what, I didn't ask for it, I did not bargain for this. But at the end of the day, your love, once you have your children, your love for them never runs out. They may be bad, they may be good, they may be what, they may be, but the love of a parent, and like I always say, the love of a mother never runs out. You will love them despite their weaknesses, you love them despite who they are. At the end of the day, it's just that love, like Nelly said, is going to make you to build them up, teach them in the way they will grow and not depart from it. So I think that we have actually covered, we hope we shared our experiences, but in not share everybody's experience as a single parent is different. Mine is different from Nelly's own, yours may be different from mine. Their underlying challenges will always kind of like, yes, whichever challenge you face, you have your own managing technique, how you can manage it. But whichever way, try and seek help. It is okay to ask for help. If you need the time to be silent and, work on yourself, take the time, work on yourself. Do not feel pressure that, you must be out there. Try and challenge yourself, because know that, and be gentle on yourself. Be gentle with yourself, to know that you are human. There are days that your emotions will overpower you, overshadow you, but hey, know that you are just human, right? And like we say, it is not easy as a parent. One, we want to make you on this. We want to also, I also just want to say that you can look at it on both sides. Yes, parenting is very challenging, very hard, very difficult. But on the other hand, it's also rewarding. So for those who feel like, you know what, I don't want to become a single parent, or I am going to stay in this relationship and, go through all of this and even die in this relationship just because I'm scared to go out there and parent that child myself, think again. Yes, it is difficult, but it is rewarding. At the end of the day, do you love your child? Do you love yourself? And sometimes, again, and we are not also advocating that, we're not advocating for you, for single parents to, we're not advocating for single parenting, if you get what I mean. We are also encouraging, and one thing that I just want to say again, that Nelly and I will agree, is that please, in what circumstances, no matter the circumstances, if you have the opportunity to make sure that the other party is having a relationship with your children, please do. Do not stop the other partner from having a relationship with your children, except in the cases where maybe legally, or the institution, or maybe the authorities have stepped in and said maybe it's not safe. But if that has not happened, please do not stop the other partner or the other party from having a relationship with their children. Remember, you've got a problem with them, but they haven't got a problem with your children. So try and separate that. By you refusing them from seeing their children or having access to your children, maybe you feel that you're punishing them, but no, you're punishing those same children whom you claim that you love. So that is something that I don't know whether Nelly, from social worker perspective, you might say even, yeah, say something on that before we close.
I think it really ties in with what I said earlier on about overprotection, because people, some parents want to overprotect their children, and that's coming from their own insecurities. Regardless of the issues that adults have, children don't have to come into it. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, parents easily drag children into those issues, and the impact on the children is massive. Because
Yeah.
imagine, these are just children. They develop that mindset and the beliefs, and when they get into their adulthood, what are they displaying? And I've said it, I'm sure this is the third time that I'll say it. I just feel with all this that has been going on, that is why the world today is the way it is, and especially in relationships, because people don't even know how to love themselves, but they want
Yeah.
other people to love them. How does that work? And then some people, when they see those who truly love them, they're like, this is weird, because they don't even know. But imagine, each and every one of us is born out of love. But because we have developed a lot of fears from our society, we can't even differentiate what is fear and what is love. But then, because of fear, we become hyper vigilant. We are always looking out for what is going to go wrong. So then
Yeah.
we want the love, but we don't even actually know how love looks like. So at the end, we just stay with fear, because most of our lives we have just lived in fear, and that is the fear aspects that we know, and not love that we are all made out of. So yeah, I think it's been a good session. We have talked about the myths, we have talked about the strength that we didn't know we have. We have talked about loving our children. We have talked about the sacrifices that single parents make that is often not even seen. But again, we focus on our children. If you, no matter the state that you are in, whether you are still in the relationship that is not healthy, whether you are in a healthy relationship, you can still make it juicier. Don't just do things the way you've been doing, because in
Yeah.
relationships you always need to bring in some extra energy into that relationship. So if sometimes we are the ones that have made relationships to die, because we don't bring in that creativity, we don't bring in the new vibes into that relationship. So whether you are in one that is up and going, whether you are in one that is has started to fade, whether it has faded beyond repairs, whether you are now a single parent, but what Peggy and myself will talk about is focus on you.
Yes.
Self-care is important. Focus on you. Accept you for who you are. Gratitude is very important. Don't be comparing yourself to some other people. That the other people have their own issues to handle. Focus on you. We used to say being selfish is not good, but if you don't fill your cup, you cannot serve other people. Fill your
No.
cup and serve others from your overflow. I think that is it from me. Thank you so much, Peggy.
Thank you very much, Nelly. That was well rounded up. And thank you so much for watching. We acknowledge Fanka. Fanka Christabel was watching. And we have at is it Ufa Ufavalsia. Sorry if I pronounce it if I didn't pronounce it right. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something. And please, like we always say, if you want to be part of our panel to talk about these things, come and join us. Come and join us. Let's have a conversation. So I hope you learned something. Thank you, and we will see you again in 2 weeks' time. You take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.